DC's Justice Society of America, or the JSA for short, has been really gaining popularity recently due to shows like Stargirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and even the upcoming Black Adam movie. The JSA was created by Gardner Fox and Sheldon Mayer and first appeared in All Star Comics issue 3 all the way back in 1940, making them the very first superhero team ever. Yes, before the Justice League. Initially, the team consisted of Hawkman, aka Carter Hall, Dr. Fate, aka Kent Nelson, the Spectre, aka Jim Corrigan, Hourman, aka Rex Tyler, Green Lantern, the first one, aka Alan Scott, Flash, also the first one, aka Jay Garrick, Atom, the first and more forgotten one, aka Al Pratt, and the Sandman, aka Wesley Dodds. The JSA were formed during World War II when America couldn't send in their troops overseas to fight in the battle between England and Germany, so President Franklin D. Roosevelt, or FDR, decided to covertly send in a group of superheroes, or mystery men as they were called back then, to fight in the war. You see, in DC lore, World War II was a little bit crazier than our World War II, as Hitler was wielding something called the Spear of Destiny, which was able to rewrite reality, and he wanted to use it to open the gates of the Nordic Hell to unleash Ragnarok upon the world. Yes, like in Thor, he even used an army of Valkyries to do it. The JSA had to intervene and fight the Valkyries and stop Ragnarok all the way back in 1945. Ultimately defeating Hitler and becoming the very first superhero team in DC. Later members include characters like Dr. Midnight, Wildcat, Starman, Hawkgirl, Black Canary, both Wonder Woman Diana Prince and her mother Hippolyta, and so many more characters over the years. The JSA would go on to have crazy adventures, again stopping Ragnarok a second time, going up against villains like the Injustice Society, being accused of communists and having to hang up their capes in 1951, being accused of Nazis for some reason, and so many more crazy stories that we will tell at another time. What I really wanted to focus on is the idea of why I think the JSA are so special, and that is down to their family dynamic and heart. You see, while teams like the Justice League, the Avengers, the Suicide Squad, and so many more were very much created to be a team of characters to just fight together and cross over, the JSA were very much a family. They were friends. They had dinner together. They had Thanksgiving parties. They went to each other's dentist appointments. They went to each other's weddings. They did so much together. They lived in the same house, a brownstone in New York and a brownstone in Civic City and a hotel suite. And they had a lot of headquarters. The JSA had such wholesome family vibes, and a lot of them were even married and their spouses would just join in on their adventures, like Molly Main, the wife of Alan Scott, or Joan Garrick, the wife of Jay Garrick. Hawkman and Hawkgirl were already married and on the team together. And they just felt like something very classic. Even the characters themselves, they very much had this good-hearted, goody two-shoes superhero origin story that not a lot of superheroes have these days. Maybe for the exception of Dr. Fate and the Spectre, all of them basically became superheroes just because they wanted to do good. Jay Garrick woke up and he found that he had super speed after an accident and decided to become a superhero. Alan Scott was an engineer, forged a lantern and ring out of some weird green energy and decided to become a superhero. Ted Grant, aka Wildcat, was just a heavyweight champion and decided to put on a catsuit and fight crime in Detroit. All of them just had good hearts and wanted to do good. The war brought them together and they stayed together regardless. They were like soldiers and family all rolled into a single wholesome, dynamic trio, more than a trio, awesome team. Back then in 1940, superheroes were rare. Back then only basically the Crimson Avenger, aka Lee Travis, was fighting crime using guns and a red suit. In the more recent continuity, Wonder Woman was around back then and even inspired the JSA to become the superheroes that they became. But because it was such a different time, becoming a superhero and putting on tights and a cape and underwear on the outside and fighting crime was unheard of. So these guys were basically pioneers. They just decided to do something completely out of the ordinary to bring some good into the world. They weren't motivated by death or pain or tragedy like so many characters we see these days. They just wanted to do good, and they did do good for decades, even teaming up with the Justice League later on when Batman himself said the Justice League is a task force, the JSA is a family. I'll try to get into more of the JSA's crazy adventures and stories on this channel, just geeking out more. But for starters, for some recommended reading, I recommend JSA The Golden Age, All-Star Comics, basically all of them, All-Star Squadron, Jeff Johns' JSA from 1999, Justice Society of America from 2007, America vs. the JSA, Last Days of the JSA Returns, JSA Strange Adventures, and probably the more recent Doomsday Clock, just because it has some incredible JSA moments sprinkled in there. As I said, I will be trying to get more into the JSA and more comics in general, especially DC stuff, because that's kind of where I'm at. And I apologize for the more rudimentary form of the video. This is my very first time attempting anything like this. So just excuse the bad quality of the video because it's the first one, and hopefully I'll get better if you stick around. But this is just kind of a platform to talk about a really underrated and a really great team in DC. So I'd appreciate it if you can like and share the video, and maybe even head on over to my Twitter at the JSA House to see me geeking out over the JSA 24/7.